I'm sick. I'm sick.
Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre with part 2 of our Octopath Traveler 2 discussion. If you missed part 1, you can check the description of this podcast to find a link to listen to part 1. But if you're all caught up with us, we're going to start part 2 right now. Once again, this is full spoilers for Octopath Traveler 2. So if you haven't played the game or haven't played the original Octopath Traveler, there's going to be full spoilers for both because we will be comparing and contrasting the two. So be warned on that. This is your final warning. If you would like to hear our spoiler discussion part 2 of Octopath Traveler 2, we're going to do so right now.
It's time for fun time.
I'm sick. Head deadly. I'm sick. I'm sick.
I always want to come back from break saying I feel refreshed, even whether I do or not, Steve, for some reason.
Well, I had a good night's sleep. I had the guy I was with wash the dishes, and I got half off for the night. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Oh my God! Okay. Oh wow! I wasn't prepared for that at all. Congratulations to you and him, unless it was a one night thing.
Well, I think I get to have him stab things for a few more turns. I forgot the terms of the contract we drew up.
Stab your butthole. Oh, baby. Who's your mama? What?
Which show is this again?
All right.
I don't remember starting on to be on Gigantic Asses, the podcast.
do not even pretend for a second if Gigantic Asses invited you on, you would not go.
If they invited me.
You need to force your way in the door of Gigantic Ass. You need to force your way into the Gigantic Asses. So let's get back to Octopath Traveler 2. I think at this point we should go through just character stuff because we've been talking a lot of mechanical, graphics, etc. and systems, right? But let's just talk about our, character moments, favorite chapters, if you will, stuff like that, the meat and potatoes. So we said who our main was. Mine was Temenos, yours was Particio, but who's your actual favorite character? Is it indeed Particio?
It might be just because familiarity bias and how long I had stuck with him that whole time. I strapped on the inventor's hat and go, go, go. But yeah, I mean, there were 7 other people we had to travel with. And, I don't know if I'd call her my favorite, but I did appreciate that Agnia had the one story that was mostly removed from the original overall plot and didn't feel tacked on. I mean, it was anime as fuck. We had the piano bar. Magical lesbians.
Oh, the magical lesbians. That's right.
The touching, if not predictable, origin story, and it was all bookended by 90s anime villainess Dulcinea.
Was the magical lesbians the lady who kept saying, "Oh my goddess"?
That was one of the magical lesbians. Yes.
Okay, because
there was a whole troop of them.
That's right. Because if you search her information, they actually say we have no idea why she says, "Oh my goddess."
Oh, we find out why eventually, but
well, yes, but it just seemed like a what's the word? Acronism.
Yes, anachronism.
Yeah, right. But Jesus Christ, I feel like that's also my answer is Agnia. I didn't really have an answer when I asked you, but Hikari is not my favorite personality, but he's my favorite character to fight with.
Well, yeah, he hits like a dump truck.
Oh my God, man. It's just incredible. Steve, do you ever wake up in a cold sweat and hear, "So Getsuzan"?
I mean, I'm probably going to now.
Who did you choose as Ochet's companion? Because I chose the fox.
Oh, I chose the owl, and I'm forgetting her name right now because I'm a jerk.
I feel like the fox's name is Akala. Was the owl's name also Akala?
No.
Okay. It doesn't matter. I wonder, I don't know how we could compare and contrast since we picked different Pokemon there, how it would differ. So I guess at the end of her story, you fought a big fox instead of a giant owl.
Yes, I did.
I wonder if the fight's any different. Well, it has to be, right? Because they're different animals.
Well, the conceit is that the calamity has come to Totohaha, and it's led by this abused creature that you turned away all those years ago and was abused by however many people and has become sentient and led the calamity. At least that's what they said about the fox.
Well, yeah, well, because they got pissed and left because you chose the other one, right? So it's like, okay, sorry.
Like, could we take both? Like, what was really stopping us other than choose one wisely?
Ochet's set of like skills, if you will, was maybe my favorite because all the monster catching stuff, which by the way, I'm so glad was like automatic. I usually don't care for like monster catching mechanics in the middle of my otherwise fun JRPG experience, unless it's the whole point, like a Shin Megami Tensei or something. And even sometimes when it is like a Dragon Quest Monsters or a Pokemon, I'm just not really into it. Ochet having like a 25% chance to automatically catch a monster she kills feels perfectly suited to a person like me who would never do that shit otherwise. Pretty much everyone I caught, unless it's like a big deal, like I said, like I talked about the shark earlier, like it was like, okay, I'm going to catch this fucking thing. I never actually caught anything on purpose, which is great.
Well, the chapter end bosses and her thing involve catching the animals, and you can end those fights a lot faster if you capture. Did you do that this way, or did you just fight them as bosses?
Oh no, I captured them because they told me to. I thought the fight wouldn't end unless I did it. I didn't know you could like quote unquote kill them.
Well, you can get to a point, and then it makes you capture them at 100%. But if if you want to roll with the dice and play percentages, you can absolutely do it much earlier.
Yeah, that's what I did. Once I got above like 60 or so, 65, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start trying to do this.
Yeah, I do the Pokemon show, so I'm here for monster capture and to a certain extent. And especially for Ochet, because she needed multi-target moves earlier than she was getting them. So, yeah, hooray for that. But I had a very big game-changing moment when I pulled off one of her limit breaks and the 25% captured the cultured Kate, which is another one of those metal slime types. And using deluxe luck of the Kate was a good way to get heals or stat boosts in a pinch. But then the end of game came where I caught a chubby Kate.
Oh.
Which, forget it. It's probably the best capture in the game because if you roll good, you can probably just you could just keep dropping invincible shield buffs on your whole group for multiple turns. And even if you don't do that, it'll still do full heals and revives or attaching all counters and re-revives on everyone, or even just cleaning the slate on bad buffs on you and good buffs on opponents. Like, that shit was broken at the time I got that.
Timidos has that sort of thing you can give him where like he gets he has a revive going into every battle. And I tell you what, what?
No, I just liked when that actually pulled off and he got up like, you won't get me that easily.
that guy has a mean streak and he's just so nice. What a nice boy. He's like the guy you see on the news, like after going to jail for being a serial killer, but he was such a nice boy.
He only hit me with the staff 12 times.
I remember that time when we were 13 and we went camping, and then at night I heard, "I will have answers," and he beat the shit out of me. I like that. Have you tried to prepare your companion, the wolf or your owl or whatever, because it just says you cannot prepare your companion.
No, I was not that thorough.
Or any of the boss captures, you cannot prepare a creature of legend.
I mean, someone was going to try it anyway, so.
Me? I mean, I wasn't going to save, but I was going to try it. Boy, Oswald really loves to talk about the fire in his breast, huh? That's like all over his like text of the fire in my breast should be the name of his yacht rock album, right? Oswald something or other, whatever his name is.
Oh God, they all have weird last names.
Oswald Octopath. Fire in my breast. Also, after the boat ride, after his chapter 1, he wakes up in Cape Cold. Cape Cold?
Oh, it's just a name.
Come on.
It's not that cold. It's just a peninsula. No, I'm not just kidding.
Cape Cold. Lord Almighty. It's kind of strange that you do 2 chapters of Oswald at once. I think I guess it's kind of necessary to set his ass up, but I'm glad they gave you a big chunk of his story to go through at first, because it was like my favorite early on.
I really liked it because they turned the whole it's a JRPG, time to do the jailbreak thing on its head here. I really liked it. They muzzle him up for a good chunk of that first chapter, so he can't use magic until he can. You needed those chapters, and then poor fucking Ruby. No, not Ruby, Emerald.
Yeah,
just goes down. He'd rather go down with the ship than go back to jail.
Yep. What a life, man. Yeah, that was those were some chapters. I tell you what, that was some really great stuff.
Though, speaking of fire, you got that third chapter where he's like confronting the guard that screwed him at his trial.
Yeah,
that said, yeah, he burned down the house that killed his family, and he gets back at him by lighting his piles of money on fire.
Yes.
Now, I'm not usually the guy that wants to ruin the nice fantasy with facts, but we've already established that leaves are silver. If it's pure silver, as Particio is so dang proud of, he's always flipping the coin and giving it out as a calling card. I mind it myself. It would take 1,763 degrees Fahrenheit of heat to melt it. I'm not saying that's stupid. I'm saying Oswald is fucking mad.
Do you feel like maybe the coins are up to I don't know, 500 leaves, and if you're hella rich you have a 10,000 leaf note or something. Maybe that does exist. I don't know.
They do play with promissory notes in Particio's story, but I don't know. We don't really see too much paper money.
Yeah,
this was very much a guy sitting on a big pile of treasure in his room.
Because even when you kill Gif, if you will, not kill him but defeat him, those gold coins go spilling out of him with all that bloom on them too, just on the floor. It's great. I don't know when else I'm going to mention this, but I guess it's going to be now. When Mother says to Piero, "Come, Piero, you and I have a long night ahead of us." Oh, man. What? Look, Mother is just disgusting in every way, shape, or form. Obviously, the character is just, vile, and that's why you want to kill her. However, man, that too? Ooh. I mean...
Eventually, we find out it gets so much worse.
Did you catch... I don't know if you caught that orphan where she was like... Mother says there's a weapon only women have. I wonder what that could be. Yo, man.
I was not touching that with my dagger on a stick.
Yeah, that was something, man. Oh boy. Look, if you're gonna, look, they don't shy away from that stuff. Didn't Father basically say to Throne, "Hey, you're a sexy hot woman. Why don't you go pretend to be a whore and get those guys to?" Yeah. Not in so many words, but that's basically what he was saying.
He highly implied that would be a valid way to get a job done.
Yep. So, hey, all's fair in love and thievery, I guess. Jesus Christ. Up until Dulcinea became more of a thing in the story, Agnia's story was playing out pretty non-confrontationally, practically the distant future chapter of the group for those who have played Live A Live or have listened to our previous podcast. I guess that's good compared to the more involved stories, heavy stories. We just talked about Oswald and, Throne and shit. That's very, And so to have something much more lighthearted like Agnia was a very appreciated contrast for me.
Well, yeah, the first chapter, the boss is the door, which is, the fantasy term for whatever a warthog, big ass warthog is, that you need help with the lumberjack to fight because she's just a tiny little dancer.
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And but when you meet the magical lesbians trademark, there's no boss battle other than the inner turmoil the head of the magical lesbian troupe is facing.
Nope, there sure isn't.
I mean, and Dulcinea is clearly the villain of the story, and she was clearly written with a sneer in mind, but we don't get that one. We don't get that in English, and I sincerely hope it's at least in the Japanese vocals.
Oh, we get that once. We get it once.
Do we?
I think we get it once.
I mean, I think she does do it in the third chapter. I mean, she does do a laugh, but it's not the laugh.
Yeah, but it's as good.
It's
as
clearly supposed to be that.
It's pretty close, though. I would count that, I guess.
And it's not just Agnia's chapters. There's a bunch of other chapters that would have just let them play out, and some might call it padding, but I think it's them actually showing more respect to the storytelling that way. Well, in that way, anyway. There's other feelings I have, but we'll address that in a bit.
Okay, Steve, admit it. Both of us were shocked when Master Juva started talking, because I did not expect him to talk.
No, I'm man enough to admit it. I was, and he's not even talking telepathically, like something like Mewtwo or something. He's not just talking to Ochet. He's talking to the rival human village. It's fantasy as fuck, is what it is.
Yeah, it's like it's very. I felt shocked as I would in real life if I were at the San Diego Zoo and the lion just started talking to me. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, wait a second. Right? Like it hit me. Like that's. I don't know.
Andre, I need you to kill the Cleveland Guardians.
I'm sorry, Master Juba. I'm a Padres fan. They're in the National League. I cannot kill the Cleveland Guardians. I have no association with them. I thought it was funny that Ochet's Chapter 2 and Oswald's Chapter 3 both took place in Conning Creek because the contrast was really funny, like incredibly funny. Ochet's like, oh boy, here's this egg in a cave. Is it a Pokemon? Oh, that's cool. And then Oswald's all, I will get my revenge, like in this nice like cottage town. I just thought it was,
They really are the Octopath Travelers.
They're the Octopath Travelers 2. I don't know what to say about Crick except Crick, LOL. His name is fucking Crick.
Poor fucking Crick, though. Yes, his name is Crick. Poor Crick.
Yeah,
but he's probably the most capable of the temporary party members they stick you with. Outside of Hikari's people, anyway, and they just kill him unceremoniously in a library and leave his corpse outside. Yeah. All sacred guards are bastards except for Crick.
What is that? All sacred ASGAB ASCAB.
I mean, that pretty much was the motto. That pretty much was the mantra throughout his story. Like everywhere Temenos goes is like, this is a sacred guard, man.
Yeah, but Temenos knows what's up. I mean, he
did know what's up, and he even tried to keep Crick out of it for most of it until he threw himself at it. I felt bad.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we want to talk about Cassidy real quick because it's a JRPG in 2023, the year of our Lord 2023, and she has fucking amnesia. That's her story. Amnesia? Really, guys? Like, look, I don't get annoyed by JRPG tropes that often. I really don't. But amnesia is one thing that it's so played out, Steve. Like, thankfully, she as a character rises above that, and I really liked her as a character and that story, so it kind of overcame that trope for me. But I just think amnesia is just... come the fuck on.
I would agree with you normally, but I did like it. This variant of it. The ghost stuff got cheesy as we moved along.
I like the Malaya angle, actually. I liked it.
But I feel like overall there was more of a conflict than there was in Alphin's story from the first game, where it's like, I want to be good at medicine. Okay. Because with the amnesia, they give you a bunch of fake outs where they really lead you to believe that you might have been an asshole until you gradually find out, thankfully, no, you just have a weak-willed protege. Slightly better.
Jesus Christ. You know, I thought we were going to get through this without any Alphen slander. My favorite character from the first game, asshole. So leave hashtag leave Alphen alone.
I mean, Alphen's fine, but it's come on.
Alphen, okay, yeah, come on. Okay, thank you. You convinced me. You're right. Alphen sucks now. You got me. Okay, I kind of have a lot to say about Hikari's chapter 1. Like more than any of the chapter 1s. Because I thought this was fantastic. So it's like cinematically too, because like you can't, like I said, this game takes place from the one perspective, right? So it's hard to do that kind of stuff. Right. So when you see it, just like remember in Live A Live, when you started the Wild West and you get those panning shots of the town, you know what I mean? From like a different angles and shit. And it's like, oh, you know what I mean? That's kind of how I felt here, because they're being gravely serious at that gravesite. I didn't come here to pray. I came here to remember, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, the camera like sharply pans. It just like lurches to the left and just like this across this huge landscape of this large scale battle happening right there. And then you're like right there in the thick of it too. It just sort of teleports you there, quote unquote. It was just like, it was such a cool cinematic flourish that it was whiplash almost, right? And there's something wild about having like your typical feudal Japan in the middle of the desert, I guess. Or I guess there's parts of China in there too. It's kind of encompassing all those feudal periods of Asia at once in this one area. And at first it seemed like it could have been kind of like Far East meets Middle East, but there's really no Middle Eastern touches outside. There's like a camel or two. It's really about it.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Here's a camel.
Here's a camel. Yeah, it's not.
Can we ride it? No.
No. Oh my God! Can you imagine the four of them just riding across camels across the desert, and then you fight on the camels that shuffle in and out? Be great. Of course, only you get hit, not the camels, because JRPG, right? So I liked when Ritsu confronts Hikari at the crest, up on the hill there. And then he says, like, the king is dead and the era of Lord Mugen begins, blah, blah, blah. And then the city, like, lights on fire right behind them, like, instantly. That was great. That was the best cinematic flourish in this game by far.
Very, oh, God, what's it? Romance of the Three Kingdoms-y? Dynasty Warriors-y?
Yeah, you could say so.
Very, I don't know, very trying to invoke that, I think.
Did you like when the king was dying, the old king, not Mugen? He was saying, like, you can't hope to defeat Mugen right now. You must become an Octopath traveler first. He didn't say Octopath traveler, but he's like, you need to go get friends and see the world. It's like, okay, I get it. I need to go play the game first, and then I'll come back here.
See, this is what I was wondering about when I was wondering how they were going to do the different stories with the same character class types here. And for the most part, they actually do something different. I feel like this is the only one where you can point and go, this is Olberic's story, but it's more fleshed out. You watch the kingdom you can't save right now burn. You go to a coliseum to gain notoriety. You gain the attention of somebody who turned on you before swinging back to take back the kingdom. But except this time you do get to take back the kingdom. It's not just in rubble the whole time while you go to the hovel the bad guys hold up in. It's not like Mugen's waiting in the castle for you to come back, and that is kind of funny. It's not like he's waiting in the desert. This is my castle.
Did you think the alter ego Hikari thing was like a little anime tropey, or like, I mean, I kind of forgot about that element till just now, so that kind of tells you what I thought about it. But
and it felt like they were trying. It felt very reminiscent of Final Fantasy IV, where they were trying to do that whole Cecil doesn't want to be a Dark Knight anymore, but he can't get rid of the darkness inside. But I guess they did it a little better here because, Final Fantasy II was 1992, and how good were you really going to do that back then?
I think the common comparison point nowadays for that stuff is Xenogears, because that's a big component of that story. There's like a alter ego, like evil version thing in that game that plays a big part. So like that's where my mind went. But yeah, I just thought this was easily the best chapter 1, right? Do you agree with me?
Oh yeah, easily. Did they have a guy with the grapes waiting for you in the middle of everybody slaughtering each other?
Yeah, he was there.
Man, I don't remember that because that was easily a Dynasty Warriors worth of HD 2D sprites in the desert killing each other.
It was great. It was so great. It looked like the old Saturn game Dragon Force, you know, where they had all the 2D sprites. Like, you remember that? Yeah. It looked like that shit. Yeah. I never played Dragon Force, but I remember the pictures in EGM, and I was like, that looks so cool. Like, have that many, you know, sprites. I wanted to take note of Agnia's chapter 5, her last chapter, because it started off, like, for me, like, not so great, then became great. So, like, look, I'm willing to suspend disbelief to a degree, especially in a game like this, but they were just standing there having a full-ass conversation while Gil played the piano to distract like these two little guards with a crowd of like 5 people, and it's like you can see them, they're right there talking, but the guards are quote-unquote distracted because they can't get through the crowd of like 5 people while they have like a full conversation like standing right there instead of like running away first with the magical lesbians and then having their conversation. But no, and then like I don't know, please do better than that. Come on, like make me work for my suspended disbelief like a little bit. But then came the end, the battle with Dulcinea, or should I say the dance battle on stage, and Agnia's song is complete and you get to hear it. An incredible composition, incredible. That was just fantastic. That was, Steve, for me, that was the best part of the game. Seriously, besides the last battle, which I think is like really the best part of the game. But that for me, like Agnia's chapter 5 end, definitely 1A.
You know, I liked it, but I felt it could have been a bit better.
How?
Okay, well, there's a bunch of these cinematic bosses that play out thematically. Like you wrap up Casty's chapter where he gets Trousseau, and halfway through the battle he rips off his helmet and his chemical rain starts wrecking his shit.
Yeah.
And you have the Oswald's penultimate chapter where the soul construct made out of his wife takes control and kills herself.
Yeah. That boss was so fucking annoying, by the way. Holy shit.
Like, to me, that stuff is very immersive, and I wanted more of it because we got to the end of Agnia's story, and that's all Dulcinea is doing. She really is. When you look at what everything Dulcinea does across both of those very elaborate sprites, was she dances and she calls up on people she charmed. Like, I thought it would have been neat if that's all Agnia could do, and too, like she can use her dances and she can call on someone that you might have recruited with you, and the other 3 people could do the damage if you really wanted to still have that angle to the fight. To me, it just felt out of place to still basically be fighting this lady, but it really just being a backdrop for a battle.
I think that's all you needed, though, because for me it was about the song, the completed song. All I needed was the music.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but it's not just here. I mean, Hikari, they do the same thing in Hikari's story, too, where they start out with the whole dueling thing on end bosses and chapters, but then, like, how good would it have been to get to the end of the game and have the whole, halfway through the fight of that, have Hikari and Mugen fight one-on-one, have the whole I'll be back when I'm stronger thing actually means something there.
But they kind of did do that because you had to challenge your alter ego, your evil alter ego, right, to kill him.
Yeah, that was
which goes away with 10 Retsuzan. That's it. So
I don't know. I felt like that even could have been for that. I liked how they handled it in Final Fantasy IV, where the way to win was to not fight it. But I guess you had to here. I don't know.
I thought it was great. I did think it was weird that we kind of just forgot that Dulcinea literally tried to bulldoze Sai and the people in it along with it. And the theater manager You know what? Never mind. Maybe we shouldn't think about this at all. They didn't want us to think about it, so never mind.
Andre, Agnew was the anime story. You really wanted it to make sense? It had magical lesbians in it.
Speaking of which, the thing she said to Veronica, which I probably should have guessed 2 chapters ago, where she's like, everything shall be mine, including your heart. I was like, oh, Dulcinea, I didn't know you felt that way about me.
I mean, they even play the villain build-up music for the theater manager and not for Dulcinea. They knew what they were doing.
Sure. Fine. I thought it was really funny when Raime on the bridge, when she was saying, let my spear be true and strike you from the heavens and all that flowery shit. I thought that shit was just talk until lightning zapped his dumb ass, like right off the bridge. I thought it was great.
Well, that was 90s RPG as shit, and what I didn't kind of like about that was that they did the lame jailbreak sequence after that.
Yeah,
like we did the good jailbreak sequence with Oswald. Like, yeah, we're going past it. Nah, we're doing the lame one.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's what that needed to be. It was fine. Okay. Let's cut to the chase. We've talked long enough without saying this. Particio should have had a gun, right? Well, look, I get that it doesn't fit in the parameters of their battle system and weapon types, but it doesn't matter. Make a class just for Particio. He should have a gun, cowards. Give Particio a gun, cowards.
Look, they started making the game in 2020 or whatever, and clearly the characters came later, so... No gun for Particio, unless we want to count the catapult. Go. The Felgen, make me rich.
Aber, Prince of Pain. What? Okay, this is something that bugged me about his story, and I want to run this by you. Why were Particio and company, like his dad and such, so bound to this scrap of paper anyway, this deed? Like, if they were going to do the whole Wild West thing, a man's word was his honor and shit like that, right? You didn't need no goddamn deed or contract. Nobody would ever be bound to something so stupid. And if they got hoodwinked by something like that, it'd be like 10 paces at dawn or sunset, right? Let's settle this. It wouldn't be the way that it went. Like, and then like this happens again with like the steam engine. Like, what court of law in Octopathia is going to uphold that shit, Steve? Come on.
You see, Andre, we already had a thief in Octopath Traveler 2, then Throne, and you can't have 2 of them. And if you don't have things like honoring contracts and things, that's what Particio would be. He'd be a thief.
I thought you were going to say that's what separates us from the animals, like John Wick.
That's what separates the merchants from the thieves. But come on, did you not like the part at the end of this story where Alron and his butler sail into the fucking private island with giant sacks of money? I thought you might back out, Rock.
Oh, man.
And then they fight a fucking train.
That was great. That was so good. You fight the goddamn train.
I know what you're all thinking at home, but don't tell Andre. So what really more do you all want from this, Andre?
I'll tell you something I want. I want you to tell me Particio's line when the enemy misses. Is it whatever or is it good effort? I could not decide. I went back and forth through the entire 105 hours. Sometimes I heard whatever. Sometimes I heard good effort.
Okay, I always heard good effort because, Particio believes in everybody, even at the end of the game. Mr. Rock, I want you to work for me.
Bitch.
He believes in everyone, even the weird, even them rats on the side of the road that are trying to stab him to death. Good effort, little rats.
I guess.
Give me them healing grapes.
You and the grapes. I keep thinking of I don't know why my mind keeps going to the gels, but that's Tails.
I need me an inspiriting plum basket.
Yeah, I guess good effort would be more in line with this character than whatever. Did you like that random lady in Timonos' chapter 3 who you never see again? She's like, "Oh baby, why don't you show me that big strong staff of yours as we go into this cave or whatever?" Like, do you remember that shit? It was like, what do you
Timonos is very, I will not be swayed by your womanly wiles with all these people.
I will not be swayed by your titties, lady.
All these sacred guard like are all led by women. They're like scantily dressed for whatever reason, and it's like, I'm not impressed by you.
Yeah, he's very Timonos is very matter of fact.
I don't sweat you and your tantalizing tatas. And he's just gently tapping each one as he says it.
Boink! It makes that anime boink. Tantalizing tatas indeed. Okay. Before we take a break, I want to talk about Throne Age Chapter 4, which is one of the most batshit crazy things I have seen in a JRPG, where the keys of mother and father don't unlock her chain. It just unlocks a door. The door leads to a valley. The valley leads to a gondola. The old man tells you a story on the gondola. The gondola leads to an abandoned city. The city has like a dying lady asking you to kill her baby, among other things, in this city, which leads to a ruined castle, which leads to an immortal human who reveals that he fathered not just Throne, but goddamn near everyone in her life. What the absolute fuck just happened to this story? Steve, I don't help me.
Okay. First off, nothing Andre said was wrong. There's a bigger problem here because if we look at it objectively, the family tree is just this gnarly shrub where this vampire, that's what he is, somehow fathered everybody in the Black Snakes. And only a handful of people know about it. Gross is the correct response. And a more thought out response might be, wouldn't the incest over centuries lead to more birth defects than snowflakes in a blizzard across however many centuries? Well, guess who lives in this town that you can only get to by gondola? The citizens that are here can be politely described as not quite right.
Oh no, nobody here is right.
The percentages and strength ratings for path actions are skewed in a way that's more deliberate than anywhere else in the game. And the insight that you do gain from these characters, it's mostly gibberish. And you got to go to the count himself for the full countdown, then take a shower, IRL, not the ones we take on fine time big deals, when you beat him. Because the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
Yeah, like any angle you try to carve this up, it just gets worse and worse the more you think about it. It is just...
Because the way he says, I'm literally everyone's father. And you're like, oh, you mean metaphorically, right? No, they do the grayscale flashbacks where it's like, where they show everybody Throne hung out with over the course of the game that was considered a blacksmith. And like, he's their daddy.
Want to hear a joke before we go to break?
Sure.
That would explain why Octopath has no black people. Oh, got him.
Uh-huh.
I'm serious. Octopath doesn't have no black people, folks. If you haven't played the game, like it really, this would explain why. maybe our villain in the sky should have been Blackula instead.
That, I don't think no one was prepared for this story anyway. So
yeah, why not? Okay, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. And as a contrast to the icky part of the story we just talked about, we got to talk about the saddest part of the story, which is Casti and the town of Winterbloom, shall we say, Steve?
Andre, we're getting plans to prolong the life of a town head who needs to stay alive just long enough to have her daughter become of age, inherit the house, and hopefully not run the town into ruin like her brother is planning to.
What an evil asshole, too. What a dickhead. Like, what a weirdo. Dickhead, weirdo, asshole. There, I covered all my bases.
I mean, what I found really interesting here is they could have easily made a big-ass boss portrait of Snooty Brother for us to fight, but they don't. They give us some thugs for us to fight, but they really hang on the whole, please save my mommy, and it's sad as fuck, Andre.
It is... Man. By the way, this lady's trying to stay alive till her daughter's 12th birthday, is it?
It's something real young like that, yeah.
Man. Like, I almost don't even want to say it. It's just like, there is that one, well, because like when you get there, they shower Cassie with adoration. Of course, she doesn't remember because amnesia why they're doing that. And then you use inquire in them to gather all the memories. And this one lady's bio is like, I wrote it down, says, a woman utterly exhausted from taking care of her ailing mother. Cassie's kind counsel helped her gather herself and see her mother off this mortal coil. She's been passing on Cassie's advice to other caretakers ever since. Oh, boy. Does that mean Cassie is like Dr. Kevorkian up in this bitch, or like what? I don't know what that was trying to imply, but
man, you know, we talk about hospice care in my line of work a lot, and I'm kind of hoping that's what was going on, and not what you were just implying. But
well, I may have not implied it to many people because the kids don't know maybe who Dr. Kevorkian is, or maybe they do. I don't know. I think the age group who listens to this show probably does.
Hey, kids at home who listen to this show, let us know in the comments.
If you are under 25 and you know who Dr. Kevorkian is without looking it up, please let us know. The boss, like you said, the thugs, though, what an absolute pig fucker. I don't know if I was like under leveled or I just didn't have the right people. That boss, woo, my God.
Really? I feel like I steamrolled them.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing about any of this game. Any boss that you will probably say you give me trouble, I'll probably say, really? That one? Right? So it's just kind of like...
And like they weren't even before we were talking about, oh, these grand ass portraits. It's not like any one of these were just thugs. They reused this one several times throughout the game. It's not like, you know, they're just jerks.
I just probably didn't have the right makeup. Anyway, that was sad as hell. But then after you go to the abandoned village and you find Trousseau's behind everything, blah, blah, blah. I didn't buy it. For me, Trousseau didn't make any sense. It didn't feel earned. Like a plot twist like that should be set up more. And this one fell flat for me. That man we met in town so long ago turned evil. And now he is the Plague Knight. Okay, bye. And then like Malaya being a ghost is the thing I really didn't see coming. Maybe I should have because I'm a big old dum-dum. But Trousseau is just kind of a whatever. Just a villain needs to appear, so he's here. I just don't buy him.
See, I had a small inkling about Malaya when you're doing the Candlebrine stuff and no one else saw her, because that's the place where they're afraid of her the most. Everyone's like, oh shit, Air's apothecaries. And you would think then they really shouldn't be dealing with Malaya either. But everyone's like, we didn't see no one named Malaya. And I might have been able to think of that, but I didn't think that far ahead. But honestly, I'm going to be that metaphysical asshole and say, metaphorical asshole and say, the villain of the story wasn't Trousseau. Okay, yes, the villain of the story was Trousseau. Shut up. The real nemesis was the nagging doubt that she was some kind of war criminal. Yes, we could have dragged this out a little better, but it felt Octopath Traveler-y enough.
Yeah, you're right. And like to that end, I find myself not having a whole lot to say about most of the endings to these stories because outside of Throne, which went like batshit crazy, of course, they all end up.
I was not ready for what was behind that door.
Nobody was, and we still wish it were Blackula, but all these stories end up exactly how you think they will. Hikari defeats Mugen and gets the throne, right? Agnia becomes a star. Ochette finds the 3 legendary Pokemon and stops the calamity of, in the prophecy. And Particio fights Rock and gets the steam engine and starts manufacturing it for everybody. Like, everybody does exactly what we think they're going to do. This is all fine in the context of the game, right? But as for like talking about it, there really isn't anything interesting to say about them unless you have something. But
looking back at it, doing this now, I think they were trying to hammer home that we were not going to be done with this game after we were done traveling with these people. Unlike the first game where, these ends were fairly conclusive until, they did what they did in the first game. Temenos has you fighting the mastermind behind the murders, but not before she gets corrupted by the Shadow. Hikari does beat Mugen and the Shadow Self, but he leaves behind the dark husk of armor. Mm-hmm. And then Ochette does the whole, oh no, the calamity made me kill the other animal friend. What's really the source behind everything? What is all this? They knew what they were doing. They were trying to ramp it up.
Sure, but because they actually had a plan this time,
Yes, they definitely had a plan this time.
Not just literally just like, here's 8 people, here's their stories, okay, bye. Except if you want to do this like very arbitrary other thing that you didn't even know was there, I guess you can do that too. And it's really hard, so fuck you.
Like the first one, it's like, okay, well, we got the 6 heroes, and their stories linked together. We still have 2 others to link together. Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's like I said, within the context of the game, it's not a big deal, but just thinking about it abstractly, it's just kind of like, well, that went exactly how you thought. I'm going to force you to talk music with me at least a little bit here, because do not give me that look. Okay, I know that look. The audience can't see the look, but they know.
Look, I like a nice battle theme, and this is just packed with all of the battle themes.
There's a lot. He structured it just like the first game, right? Because you have the 3 escalating battle themes as you get to harder areas, right? The battle theme 2 in the first one is like cream of the crop. Maybe the best battle theme of all time. Not joking. And so nothing's going to beat that for me, but the music of this game is stupendous. He went really hard in that jaunty little post-battle theme. He really didn't have to. You ever sit there and listen to that thing? I mean, like, that's a whole ass song.
I mean, it's this. They could have just reused the first one, and I mean, that is largely the first one, but it's better.
Way better. The day and night themes in towns, right? Because like obviously everything is a day version and a night version, and they seamlessly blend into each other when you switch, which is cool. I just think that like takes away from the individuality a bit, because like in the first game, I feel like everything had their own unique theme. Whereas like now some towns share themes because, you got to make a day and night version of everything. And that's like a lot, right? Probably didn't have the wherewithal or time to make like that much music, because it's a lot, right? Especially for one dude.
Yeah, I'm inclined to let it slide though.
Yeah.
Given how seamless it is.
Perticio's theme, saxophone time, baby. Yo.
And they give you that little newspaper print for you to read at the end.
Excellent stuff. Whenever that came on, that was like something out of King of Fighters or something, like one of the CD-ROM King of Fighters when they port it to another system and they get the really swank music, the Red Book music. Man, great stuff. The battle theme at sea, gotta talk about that. You want to talk about jaunty.
That is jaunty. It is swashbuckling. It is both of those things.
I I feel like we haven't talked a lot about the sea stuff at all, although I guess maybe there isn't a whole fuck of a lot to say. I mean, you do have to buy the boat for 100k leaves, but like the sea stuff is cool. It's a nice change of pace. The first game didn't have that, right? But do you really have anything to say about it other than like that was neat? Because I guess I don't.
I mean, you need it for the end game things, and there was a handful of the very annoying subquests I did, including against Gigantes. Fuck that asshole. But
wait, is that the thing that kept getting like 2 shield points every time it took a turn? Oh my god. That fucking guy. I came back to that like 40 hours later when I was OP, and I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to blitz him like later.
No, I did it my second try, but by the time I realized what was happening that first time, I'm like, fuck me.
Yep. Okay. Before we get to like talking about the dawn and the end of the game and like like premonitions that we may have had going up there, I want to talk about some stuff I didn't like about this game, which isn't a whole lot, but it matters. So, like I said, all the stories end up how you thought they would. That's actually not a detriment. It's just more of an observation. What is more of a detriment is that all the chapter ones play out really samey. Introduce the character, introduce the situation, use a path action, snoop around town, use their other path action because it's nighttime now. Do a really short dungeon, learn your limit break against the boss, except for me when I did Partitios, and then you set out on a journey. Like all the same beats for everybody. And like, look, considering you can start the game with anybody, this obviously is something that couldn't be avoided. Right. But it has to be mentioned as a drawback of the game's design because, like, I can ultimately forgive it. It's not a huge deal, Steve, but, you know, they all are kind of the same.
I mean, they're all kind of the same. And unfortunately, something they don't really address. Well, they only really kind of pretend to address it with the crossing paths and things. I was kind of hoping for more character interaction. We get the crossing paths and more character-oriented finale, as opposed to what was stapled together at the end of the first game. But all of the base stories play out like no one's with you still.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, right? Because, like, what can you do? You can't make up multiple scenarios unless you want to force parties on people, which they may or may not have those characters by the time they get there, right? So it's just kind of it's kind of a drawback of the design. It has to be that way.
I mean, the travel banter helps a bit, and everyone has a lot of character this time. I mean, they did last time too, but I mean, you know, they really spent a lot of time workshopping it this time. It'd be a lot more jarring otherwise, but you know, I think more people were hoping for it.
But you know what I'm glad they don't do, and this is something that would have pissed me off more, and it is that I hate when RPGs, because they can't account for who's in your party, so they have generic lines like, "Oh no, we have to stop them." Oh boy, why don't we go over here? You know what I mean? Stuff that anybody could say. And that stuff I don't like at all. So I'm glad they kind of played it out like you were alone rather than forcing generic lines on a party, because I hate that shit.
Yeah, there really is no winning.
Yeah. So I would say, though, besides that, and this is something I can forgive the other stuff. This is something I kind of can't forgive as nearly as much. My biggest criticism of Octopath Traveler 2, and I didn't feel this way about the first game, I do feel this way about 2, is that there are a glut of like chapter 2s and 3s that simply aren't that interesting or very good. And if they are, they feel really cookie cutter. You have to do another dungeon to solve another contrived plot point that you kind of already know about, so you do the next thing. And like, I get that it's hard to write 8 original stories in one game, but there was a good 15, 20 hour period, Steve, where I was thinking to myself, man, maybe it was not a good idea to make such a very similar sequel. Because, I mean, I can't point out specifics right now, but honestly, some of those chapter 2s and 3s just really like, okay, I get it already, you know?
You know, I didn't think any of it was that bad. I understand that maybe some of the stories lulled a bit, and some of the stories did have more chapters than others. Mm-hmm. And then that threw me off for different ways and reasons, but I mean, not to be super corny, but this is Octopath Traveler, right? We're going on a journey. It's not all beginnings and ends. Sometimes we have to stop off at the gas station and take a piss on the side of the road before we before something exciting happens again.
I thought you were going to say go to the bathroom at the gas station. No, you're just going to piss. I guess maybe the gas station doesn't have one.
Like Final Fantasy 15, there was no bathrooms in those gas stations.
Oh no, they all went to the river and like cross streams. There's no way.
To me, it's just part of the game. Like, yeah, it's quiet time now because we're building up to big shit later. I mean, that's the game.
That's why ultimately the game is great, I think. Okay, let's just say it now. What did you like more, the first game or the second game? Because I think ultimately, when I come around to it and we talk about like all the end stuff and the way it completes itself, I like Octopath Traveler 2 more.
Oh yeah, 2 far and away.
Really? Far and away?
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, maybe that's even too harsh. But I mean, if I had to point at one, I mean, if someone came up to me, I only have time to play one of these, I'd say go play 2.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't.
You don't have to play 1. Then you're not going to miss anything by not playing 1.
Oh come on! I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far. I think 1 is definitely worth playing. But if you
1 is worth playing, but if you only have time for 1 and you have a PlayStation 5. In this hypothetical situation, you can't play Octopath Traveler 1.
No, you cannot. Okay. So let's get to gearing up for the end and stuff. By the way, before we do that, do you have anything else to say about the cross paths? Like, honestly, I didn't really see a trailer or anything beforehand to know that these were even in there. So that was like a complete surprise to me when I played the game, and I liked them all.
I felt like that was either in the direct or they were showing that afternoon and on Twitter. Because
maybe I'm a dumb shit, but I swear to God I didn't know about these.
I mean, good for you, because you know me, I like to not know about every little thing going into the game, because that's been Square Enix's modus operandi lately, because I like to keep bringing this up. I think everyone knew everything there was to know about Neo: The World Ends With You before it came out, and I didn't like that.
No.
I had to stay off Twitter for months when that game came up.
Yeah, that's on PlayStation Royale with cheese now. Maybe I should give it a shot, huh? No?
Maybe.
Okay. Winning endorsement from Steve. Okay,
great.
Well,
you might get lost.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time.
Unlike Octopath Traveler 2, there is a continuing story. So,
oh no. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, never mind.
Anyway.
So okay. After the way the first game handled things, which we kind of just talked about, as 8 very separate stories, the first thing in my mind when I started Octopath 2 was that they're going to make this more cohesive among the characters, because that was the big complaint about everybody. So let's talk about what our expectations were going into this. So my first guess is when I came across the abandoned village, I was like, okay, this totally has something to do with everybody. I was super wrong, of course. I was just Casty's, main story point. However, I guess it kind of did, right? That was kind of darkness, Kingdom Hearts darkness, right? What?
Kingdom Hearts darkness.
Nobody loves darkness more than Kingdom Hearts. Darkness.
And then the nobodies show up.
Yeah.
Casty starts smacking it with her axe.
I suspected immediately, of course, that Alpates was tied to this, because of course she was, right? I mean, Jesus Christ.
I'm tacking a writer onto yours for this one, because I thought we were fighting her in the end game.
Really?
I'm sitting here doing the cross path story where we find her, and I know we're not all on good terms with the church, but the Pope has a girl with a unique sprite locked in the attic and didn't tell anyone. This is not good.
No.
They let her go without even a gentle inquisition. Like, Temenos was right there. He doesn't even ask her any questions. And he kept you locked up here this whole time. How sad.
Oh, dear. You appear to be a unique sprite.
Like, I don't know. Maybe inquisition her a little bit.
Yeah. He will have answers from Alpates.
We're questioning everybody up and down all the towns everywhere, but nah, you could just go.
Yep. I mean, yeah,
I was wrong, but I thought that's where that was going.
Yeah, hey, she was involved, right? So, I mean, but Cassie and Ochet's battle with the darkness, Kingdom Hearts darkness in the forest for their cross pass chapter 2, especially like Ochet at the end, she's like, boy, what was that? Oh, I'm sure it was nothing. Or whatever at the end. And it's like, okay, come on, guys. By the way, who knew Temenos would be the seed for the final story again this time around? Last time it was Cyrus, and now it's Temenos. Them mages, I tell you what, man, you can't.
Yeah, it was Cyrus the last time. I had to think about that for a second because that was bullshit. I don't care. That was
the Octopath is over when you beat the 8 character stories, and that's it. You don't really need to do anything else. That's it. Anyway, what were your major guesses while playing the game?
Well, like you, we had the 8 unrelated characters, and we had to piece together what was happening in the first game. And no, they don't really make you do that. You could start doing that much sooner in this game. Temenos and Ochet start eluding the shadows and calamities right away in their story. And from there, you could start seeing something's amiss with Hikari. And it's probably what's eating Trousseau and Harvey. And nothing's preparing you for what's getting to you at the end. But I mean, I feel like we actually earned that ending a bit more. We got to where we were going a bit better that way. I'm like, okay, I felt like, yeah, okay, all this shit's related. We're trying this time.
Mm-hmm.
I got that vibe much sooner. I was going to be more surprised a few hours in if we were in for more bullshit at the end than if we weren't.
Yeah. I'm glad they took this route, though. I mean, we all figured they would, just because that was such a sore point of the first game.
I also need to bring up that I finished Temenos' story first.
Okay.
He's doing his victory laps around the town or whatever and chatting up Mint. And what she tells him right before they do the Finn thing just turned up all my spider senses at once. Oh, no need to write me, Temenos. Your journey is already over. Oh, gee, I wonder.
I just thought they were going to do it. I didn't really think yeah, I guess you're right, huh? I mean,
like the whole thing ends with him like, oh no, I have to keep doing more inquisitions. He's like, and she's like, nah, I don't think you really need to worry about that.
Yeah, but I never took it as you don't need to worry about that. Tee-hee, I'm evil. I just kind of thought if you'll just get into bed with me forever and you'll never do any more inquisitions.
Oh, well, maybe that was the plan, except for he left town that night. And
yeah. So the fact that the credits don't roll after you complete your main character story this time pretty much proves that whatever they did in the first game for Postgame was a total afterthought. The point was just seeing the 8 stories, right? Because Olberic was my main, and once I beat him, I saw the credits. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess that's all they really wanted me to do. Of course, I did all the rest of the stories because I wanted to see them. But,
Yeah, same thing happened with me and Primrose. I didn't do hers last. It might have been 3rd or 4th. And I was like, oh, credits are on already. That's just great.
Yeah. This time I saved, since Temenos was my main, I saved him for last because I wanted to see if they would do the credits thing, and then that would be the end. But it was not. So, okay, by the way, so let's talk about the end game, the Dawn. I just want to say something up front. Hey, Live, you see this shit? This is how this shit is done. Not whatever bullshit you did to us last year. Okay? This is it. I know you like Live, your game of 2022 for some reason, but you got to at least give me that.
I did give you that on the air. I said the end game was bullshit.
I want it here, okay? God damn it. I want my 50 pounds of flesh.
Jesus Christ, Andre. Your leaves are in the mail.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, why don't you begin?
Okay, fine. We've been saying endgame this and endgame that the whole time now. And yeah, you know why? Octopath Traveler 2 has one. They built a whole campsite for them that you pass several dozen times across the game that serves no purpose until you do all the stories. And then you go camping. It's Chrono Trigger as fuck.
It is Chrono Trigger as fuck. That is, and I thought I was just doing like, oh, it's 2D sprites on it. No, it really is Chrono Trigger as fuck. It really is. Yeah, the gang goes camping. These are the kind of character moments that were sorely missing from the first game, and I've always said that I didn't need that from the first game, but now that I have it here in Octopath Traveler 2, indispensable. Like all of them just sitting around talking. Yeah, we needed that before too in the first game.
I have a taste for character development now.
Did you just turn me into Nemesis, but I just walk around spouting like,
I must feed.
B plot.
No, that's me too, because I was fine with the 8 seemingly separate stories the first time, but now I'm seeing them do all that. I'm like, yeah, this is great. But Andre, I got bad news. Eternal darkness is abound the land, and it's up to the Octopath Traveler's trademark to figure out the root cause. And they try to play it real cool, like it's going to be hard to do. But gee golly whiz, it wouldn't be where the purple mist gets more purple as we go along on the map, would it?
I figured that out real fast. And it's like, And by the way, do you like how Cassie was like, "We all had the same dream. Could it be a coincidence?" Gee, Casty, what the fuck do you think? I mean, God. I mean, Lord. Oh, by the way, when you teleport to what's that place outside of a Temenos' town, like outside of the church, basically that little square, yeah, and you teleport there, Partitio literally goes, "It's quiet. Too quiet."
It does.
That's like, it's like, come on, man. Oh Lord, I could not believe they actually made him say that. He probably should have just said it was a dark and stormy night. Oh man, oh, sorry. Anyway. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so like I guess we find out like characters throughout the story have been pulling the strings behind the scenes for the darkness, right? And who are they? I know one of them's Kazan.
Oh, Kazan's the one, but we got to deal with Ori, the Scrivener for the New Delta Times, who's been following Partitio the whole time.
That was weird. I didn't see that one coming at all. That was a weird one.
Well, I sort of did towards the end, because at first it's like endearing and fun exposition, like, wow, Partitio, that's really cool. But then at the end, she's like right up your ass in the factory and she almost dies, but not really.
Yeah.
And it's like getting kind of weird, like, I don't know about you, or something's wrong.
Yeah, it was weird.
Although Kazan, or Orboro, as it turns out to be, he's the real mastermind behind it all. And he's suspicious as fuck the whole time, though. Hikari just tries to play it off as, well, that's the Eagle of Ku for you.
He seemed like totally unsurprised. But it's just like, Kazan was already like kind of a flake during his main story anyway, right? So it was kind of like you see him in the Coliseum and he pushes you in. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I wanted to free all the prisoners. Yep. That's why I shoved you into the pit.
It was strange. And then like, he really needed that like stupid sword that Mugen had, that decorative pointed sword from like a Taito game or whatever, like that stupid thing. Like that's what he was after this whole time.
He needed something. I think the real goal was blood sacrifices for the sacred flame, though, because Ori uses herself, but then there's Mint.
Ori uses herself?
Ori stabs herself, but then I
don't remember this.
I don't know if there was a travel banter between Partitio and Oswald that plays right after that says some townspeople found this girl near to death, and they say she'll probably live, and that's like supposed to insinuate that she might be okay, but Mint does not go through this loophole because she decides to sacrifice one of the magical lesbians.
that is fucked. I cannot believe they did that shit. Come on.
That was the oh goddess. It was apparently Mint we were looking up to the whole time, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, you gotta die now." Oh goddess, like holy shit.
Come on, man. The goddess was Mint. It's like, lady, you can find a better. You know what? Whatever. I'm not going to tell anyone who to date, but Mint, really? Come on, you're a magical lesbian troupe who goes across the Octopathia land. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway. Like I said, I initially read Temenos' ending as Mint trying to why don't we get to know each other, Temenos, biblically, right? But and Temenos being too aloof to catch on, but her being the ringleader, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Okay, let's talk about this last boss. And before we do that, I'm going to put you on the spot because I feel like this is maybe my favorite last boss of all time. You put whoever you want up there, folks. Lavos, Sephiroth for some people, right? I would probably put this easily top 3, if not my favorite. I don't know how you feel about it. Why don't you tell me now?
Andre, it is certainly up there because they shove Obero into the flame in the one place in the map you haven't been to yet. And then you get to fight him with all 8 of the titular Octopath travelers at once.
Incredible. Just incredible.
This is an end game. You better have been trying out everybody as the game's been moving along, figuring out their ticks and multi-classing where appropriate. Figuring out how your gear works because they don't make it easy and not the bullshit that Octopath 1 did where pump your HP past the max continuously and call that a boss fight. They make you learn the Octopath travelers. You better use them all.
Oh, yeah. And they're great. And I had to, yes, some were lower levels than others, so I had to bring them all up to speed. But okay, so I'll make an admission now. You already know, but I'll tell the audience now. I fucked up and I was a bit underleveled when I started the Dawn, but then I accidentally also saved over my point of no return like a dumbass. So I was stuck in the Dawn. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to level up here. But then I also didn't grind against the higher level enemies when they were available. So getting my party up to snuff took a while. But with that said, I certainly struggled here. I did not do this on my first try, my second try, my third try. It was something for me because I was just not prepared.
It took me 2 tries, but that second one was really cutting it close. I had a bunch of dead travelers, but Vide's name was in the red, so I knew I had to be close. And what ended up really pushing me over the edge with that was a full BP Particio sending out the mercenaries that you may or may not have gotten. Did you see those?
That's exactly what I was going to say next. I did not know. See, here's the thing. I knew he had the hired help thing, right? But I never had enough money to afford the good ones, so I never really did them. So by the time I got to the end of the game, I just kind of forgot about that move. Until now,
it's so good.
It is ridiculously good. And then once I discovered that move, I was like, okay, game over. Game over. I'm just blowing all my cash on these.
Well, yeah, you're at the end. What else are you using cash on? So,
yeah. But I didn't do it before because I was being conservative. I just literally didn't have the money to do it.
Well, for a good chunk of the game, I didn't either, and I was robbing money off of everybody. I was spending it on other shit like the fucking ship and whatever else.
Yeah.
But I like 1 or 2 of those, and that was the end, which is kind of funny. Pay to win, you hire a bunch of goons to just finish the job. Although, like I said, I had Ochet's fat, chubby Kate with super shields was really carrying us along that second time.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. I didn't have a whole lot of problem with the second form where all 8 fight him. I had there's the first form that was tough for me. Because here's the thing. So you're cruising along, right? And then you have to switch to the other 4 all of a sudden when he's almost dead. That's the part that fucked me up. because I couldn't find out a good second party for that. But once we got to the big battle where all 8 are fighting him, that was fine. That I could manage, right? It was the finding out how to get his health down good enough with my B team. That was my stopping point for me. But once I figured out that, and I feel like I got lucky on that anyway. And then this is still before I realized what hired help, the true power of it. And I wish I had known earlier, but that's my fault. But
just like real life.
Hired help. I can't. Well, you can afford the best. Pay to win. But once I figured that, I was great. So anything else about the Dawn besides now that we've gotten to the last boss? By the way, I thought it was weird how it still gave you like experience points and then the same like jaunty little in tune when you beat him. It's like, this isn't any regular battle, guys. Like, this is the last boss. Like, but whatever, I guess.
They did the same thing in the first Octopath Traveler, though. If you manage to beat it, you get the gold and experience, and then they even give you an item that gets rid of random encounters. I'm like, oh, great, thanks.
All I can say is thank fucking God all the buffs and heals and stuff for the party worked on all 8 people instead of just the 4 section that you were picking from for that turn, because goddamn.
Oh, no, I would have significantly less nice things to say if they weren't letting us fight with the 8 as a party.
Yeah, giving BP to everybody. Oh, baby, let me tell you. Anyway, is there anything else you got to say about the Dawn here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, this was another criticism, well, the same criticism, really. Oh, no, the story doesn't really make sense unless you think about it. But look, I think they really did a job of making sure the end game made sense. But if you really needed help putting it together, they give you a literal paper trail leading to each of the flames that you need, that they make you read. Are you all happy about that? Were you all less confused? Because I feel like, because as stapled on as some of that was, I feel like someone on the inside was like getting a little bit offended at like, oh, don't worry, we'll make it super clear for everybody this time.
First of all, rude. Some people probably were confused. Secondly, I think this was necessary. Like, it's a pretty goddamn long game, right? And like a summary or a reminder of like all the stuff in the form like this was like not just good game planning, but also interesting to read, or at least I thought it was. I didn't feel like it was like a retread. Okay, I know this already. Also like the visual of the Felsun ruins littered with like some 20 odd pages, just glittery things all around was kind of a funny visual, but whatever.
Ooh, what a waste of paper.
Good effort. Was the epilogue and credits predicated by the order in which you found everyone? Because it sure felt like it was.
It was, and it was in the first game too.
Okay. So one PlayStation note, I guess. You get a PlayStation trophy for beating V-Day, which 16% of players did, okay, according to PSN. But then you get another trophy for doing the epilogue, which 14% of players did. That means a not insignificant amount of people just turned off the game after beating V-Day. Which, what? Why would you do that?
I don't know. I want to see everything to the end after I spent all this time playing a game, right? Like, I just couldn't imagine it. I can't.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I saw those numbers, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, anyway.
Well, I'm done with the game.
Yeah, as soon as he flashes and he just starts dying, just turn off the PS5. Beep beep.
I'm sure that was enough to get a platinum, right? No, just kidding.
No, it's not. Okay. Just to wrap up here, they can't do this again, right? They can't do another Octopath Traveler like this similar, another 8 more people, their names spell Octopath, their first letter of their name spell Octopath, and like, they can't, right? This is the end of this concept unless they drastically do something different.
Yeah, we've already alluded to this in other places. You'd have to tremendously overhaul what Octopath Traveler does. You'd need to have a lot more moving parts under the storytelling hood, for one. I don't think Dragon Quest 3 is going to be the end of HD 2D, but I don't think we're going to see Octopath Traveler 3 unless they hand it to a less experienced team that's going to miss the point. Or just make something, okay, this is... They look at these games for reference and they get all the wrong ideas and we finally get a dud.
Oh, God, I hope not. Because that's what I'm afraid of, too. It's like, we can make a game like that. No, actually, you can't. This is like one of the most carefully crafted things that there is. So it's not easy. And I really appreciate the work that goes into this type of shit. But like, yeah, if you were to ask me before this was like even announced, right? Octopath Traveler 2. I might have said that they couldn't do another one of these. I might have just said that Octopath Traveler was a one-off. I don't see how you follow that up. But yet, here it is. 8 characters. We have it. But you have the same battle system, but one new wrinkle. Yeah, the chapters are split up differently depending on the character, but it largely progresses the same way.
Well, no one was ready for Octopath Traveler 2 anyway. We were all just watching the direct one day, and they were like, there it is. It's coming out in February.
Yep.
And then you're sitting there going, well, I guess this is a surprise. And then I'm going on like, the first one sold 3 million copies, and that's why there's a second one.
I didn't know it did that well, and I'm glad it did. I hope this is doing well as well, especially now that it's on PlayStation as well.
Yeah, I don't think they've drawn up any of that yet. I wonder how it's doing.
Yeah, I hope it's been doing okay. I wonder how... I can't imagine Live A Live, the port to PlayStation, this late-ass port is going to sell any copies, huh? I mean, I doubt it, but...
I don't know. They were pretty thrilled about 500,000 last year, but I know
that's more than I ever thought that Live A Live would sell. And, despite my feelings on it, I'm glad that it did that well. I'm very glad for that.
They were happy with 500,000 of that on Switch, and I think they broke 1 million on Triangle Strategy. There's life here.
I almost want to play. I know it's going to make me angry.
I have it sitting right here. It's the one I haven't played yet. It's upsetting me that I haven't played it yet.
It looks so cool. And maybe there's a baby mode. Maybe there's a piss-ass story mode or something that I can just play.
I'm General Tough Guy. Don't worry. I'll kill all the things for you.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Birdman. I will slash everyone in midair.
Yay.
All right, we should get the hell out of here. Thanks for listening to us talk about Octopath Traveler 2 for this long. If you made it through this and part 1, appreciate it. Fine Time Podcast on Twitter. That's about it, I guess. See you next time. Bye.
Fine Time.